Caffeine Blues video 3, page 5 of the introduction. Now, I'll find my place. I was reading with an Albert Einstein accent because all my fans enjoy my accents, and I'm my biggest fan. Why aren't health warnings required on coffee cans? Why, in the face of this mountain of data, are physicians not warning their patients? Because there is no comprehensive view of the problem. How about Henry Kissinger? Everyone is looking at their own little piece of the puzzle. In 1993, a study published in the journal, Richard Nixon, the Journal of the American Medical Association, found that regular drip coffee, I'll admit that, the kind that most people drink, raises blood cholesterol levels. President Ronald Reagan. Well, nevertheless, as I say, the authors conclude that the increased risk to heart disease is small, yes. Apparently, they're not talking to their colleagues or Nancy, who have found that caffeine also raises blood pressure. Yes. Increases homocysteine, a biochemical that damages artery walls, promotes arrhythmias and constricts blood vessels leading to the heart. Viewed together, Jimmy Carter. Viewed together, these effects present a clear picture of caffeine's contribution to the nation's leading cause of death. But in countless newspaper articles, the issue is presented in pieces. And my little daughter Amy said that the truth is diluted by quote-unquote experts who are unwilling to take a stand and instead qualify their findings by saying, there's not enough evidence. Okay, and here's an African-American accent. A caffeine myth debunked. In the pages of Caffeine Blues, I present the full scope of caffeine's effects on physical, mental, and emotional well-being, and debunk the following popular misconceptions about caffeine. My favorite Midwestern accent, which is what I call Wisconsin thick, as is heard in and around Wisconsin Dells. Caffeine gives you energy. Wrong. Caffeine does not provide energy, only chemical stimulation. The perceived energy comes from the body's struggle to adapt to increased blood levels of stress hormones. In most cases, this induced emergency state leads to well-defined side effects collectively known as caffeineism. Ironically, caffeineism is characterized by fatigue. Now, for me, the easiest accents, I should say, the accents that require the least amount of energy to pronounce, to enunciate, are English accents, that is British English accents, and Southern U.S. accents. So I'm going to drift in and out of an English and Southern accent, because actually Southern U.S. English developed from specific British English dialects from the 17th century. So here we go, Number 2, caffeine gives you a lift. Wrong. Using coffee for mood enhancement is a short-term blessing and a long-term curse. While the initial adrenal stimulation may provide a transient anti-fatigue lift, caffeine's ultimate mood effect is a letdown, either subtle or profound. Advertisers and coffee institutes have kept this side of caffeine from public view. In Chapter 4, you'll clearly find an unequivocal evidence of caffeine's role in depression and anxiety. What's more, caffeine is positively linked to panic attacks, a psychiatric disorder affecting an estimated 5 million Americans. as of 1998 AD. Number 3, caffeine sharpens your mind. Wrong. While caffeine users may feel more alert, the experience is simply one of increased sensory and motor activity, dilated pupils, increased heart rate, and a higher blood pressure. The quality of thought and recall is improved no more than the quality of music is improved when played at a higher volume or speed. In Chapter 4, you will find a convincing argument, backed by clinical research, that caffeine actually decreases overall mental acuity. The dark side of caffeine. There are plenty of people who don't want you to know the truth about caffeine. If it were just a matter of coffee jitters, it wouldn't be such an issue. But as you will see, the effects of caffeine are far-reaching and can be quite serious. Importantly, women are at higher risk than men folk, and kids are the most vulnerable to caffeine because of their limited ability to detoxify the drug. Caffeine stays in a kid's brain and bloodstream more longer than an adult's, and subsequent doses produce a cumulative increase in stress and addiction. Is it any wonder that soft drinks, to which manufacturers add caffeine, have become the most widely consumed beverages in America? The truth is, Americans of all ages are addicted to the caffeine in soft drinks. It's a fact that young kids consume alarming amounts of caffeine, entering the cycle of dependency and nervous system dysfunction early in life. One study identified peak consumption periods at 3, 13, and 17. These kids are set up for a lifetime addiction with serious health consequences. In the following chapters, we'll explore caffeine's connection to hyperactivity, learning and behavior disorders, fatigue, cancer, heart disease, ulcers, headache, allergy, PMS, birth defects, and much, much more. Stay tuned! Caffeine is literally a pain in the neck. We are reading on page 7 from Stephen Chiniski's book, Caffeine Blues. You'll learn that many of our physical experiences of tension and pain are directly related to the level of stress hormones in our bodies, and that caffeine acts as a pain trigger because it elevates blood levels of these biochemicals. Susan M., for example, came to me as a last-ditch effort to help with her neck and shoulder pains. She'd been to doctors, chiropractors, and acupuncturists, but the pain was relentless. Ms. Susan listed 4 cups of coffee per day as her diary. And I soon learned that her cup was a 16-ounce mug. So she drank 4 16-ounce mugs of coffee a day. She was thus consuming over 900 milligrams of caffeine per day from coffee, and ironically another 190 milligrams in her over-the-counter painkiller. Using the off-the-bean program outlined in Chapter 10, she gradually reduced her caffeine intake to almost 0. 3 weeks later, she was pain-free for the first time in 20 years. Folks, I'm going to enter something at this time. I'm taking a time out to talk parenthetically. I have observed over decades of watching the people that people who drank a lot of coffee also smoke a lot of cigarettes and drank a lot of booze. Now, I know somebody who drinks lots of coffee all day long and then drinks booze at night to come down. My suggestion that if the person cuts out all the caffeine, he won't need the booze to calm down, and 1 or 2 beers or drinks a day would be plenty. Now, we are going, as I speak, to video number 4 of Caffeine Blues.